The CEO who fell for the nurse. A debt of blood. A $50,000 debt that changed everything. Subscribe right now for more stories of true love. Like this video and tell me where you are watching from. The Boston General Hospital smelled of disinfectant and lukewarm coffee on that chilly November morning. Chloe Adams, a 32-year-old nurse, adjusted her scrubs, her feet aching after an 8-hour shift. Her life was predictable. Work, shared apartment, and weekends volunteering at a local shelter. Nothing extraordinary. "Chloe!" Her supervisor's voice snapped her out of her thoughts. "We urgently need an AB negative blood donor. Critical case on the 3rd floor. The blood bank is empty. It's rare. Less than 2% of the population." Chloe felt a chill. AB negative. Her blood type. "I'm AB negative," Chloe said without a... 20 minutes later, Chloe was on a gurney, her blood flowing into a sterile bag. She was pale. She hadn't eaten properly in days. She tried to sit up too quickly, and the world began to spin. Darkness enveloped her. When she woke up, her supervisor, visibly shaken, was there. "You gave us quite a scare, Chloe. You collapsed and hit your head. You've been out for 2 hours. Your shift is covered. And..." Her supervisor paused strangely. "The boy's father insisted on meeting you." A moment later, Ethan Reynolds walked in. 42. Tall, athletic, with gray eyes that seemed capable of reading a soul. He wore a suit that screamed money and influence, but it was his expression that hit Chloe. Pain, gratitude, fear, and hope mixed into a single, tightly controlled mask. "You are Chloe Adams," he said, not as a question. "The nurse who donated blood for my son, Leo." "I just did what anyone would do," Chloe replied, firmly but gently. "No," he countered, "not anyone. You were exhausted, off duty, yet you didn't hesitate. Without your donation, my son wouldn't have made it to the operating room." He paused, his voice cracking. "I owe you my son's life, and a debt like that is priceless." He was accustomed to solving problems with money. "You owe me nothing," Chloe said. "I am a nurse. It's my job, my calling." Just then, a doctor entered. "Mr. Reynolds, the surgery is complete. Your son is stable." The pure, devastating relief on Ethan's face was too intimate to witness. "Thank you," he whispered to Chloe, and then he was gone, leaving behind a silence charged with unasked questions. Later, her supervisor filled her in. That was Ethan Reynolds, owner of Reynolds Industries. Real estate, tech, probably the richest man in Massachusetts. "Chloe, you just saved a billionaire's son." Part 2. The price of compassion. 2 days later, Chloe found a thick envelope on her locker. Inside, a letter and a check for $50,000. "Dear Chloe, I cannot express my gratitude. Leo is recovering well thanks to you. Attached is a small gesture of appreciation. If you ever need anything, just ask. Eternally grateful, Ethan Reynolds." Chloe gasped. $50,000. She couldn't accept it. It would turn her act of compassion into a transaction. But that night, she found an eviction notice taped to her door. Her landlord was selling the building. She had 1 month to move. Chloe sank to the floor and wept. Holding the envelope, a small, terrifying flicker of hope ignited. 3 days later, Chloe braced herself and went to Leo's room. She found Ethan reading a story, using different voices that drew childish laughter. Leo, pale but rosy-cheeked, sat propped up by pillows. "You're the magic nurse?" Leo asked, his voice soft. "Daddy says you saved me with your magic." "No magic, champ," Chloe said, kneeling beside him. "Just blood, which your little body needed to get strong." She then turned to Ethan. "I came to return this. I can't accept it." Ethan didn't take the envelope. "Why not?" "Because I didn't do it for a reward. I did it because it was the right thing to do." "Precisely why I want you to accept it," Ethan countered, his voice tranquil. "Because you are incorruptible. I want to help you. I know you lost your parents, you work double shifts, and your building is being sold. Allow me to help, not as payment, but as human gratitude." "I don't need your charity," Chloe snapped, stung by the invasion of privacy. "I may not have money, Mr. Reynolds, but I have dignity." "I don't intend to fix anything," Ethan said softly. "I only want to repay a little of what you gave me. My son is the only thing I have in this world, and you gave him another chance." "Then value the gift," Chloe said, leaving the envelope on the windowsill. "Embrace him. Love him every day. That is the only way to thank me." As she turned to leave, Ethan stopped her. "If you won't accept the money, will you at least let me invite you to dinner? Not as thanks, but as acquaintances. I want to know the woman who shares my son's rare blood type. It's a strange connection, isn't it? Destiny. Or chance." Chloe should have said no. He was from a different world. But his vulnerability, which mirrored her own years of fear, made her hesitate. "Just one dinner," she finally conceded. "And let's be clear, it's not a date. It's two people sharing food and conversation. Nothing more." "Nothing more," Ethan agreed, but his eyes sparkled with something that made Chloe's stomach flip. "Saturday night. I'll pick you up at 9. What do you think is driving Ethan's insistence? Is it purely gratitude, or is he seeking something money can't buy? Share your thoughts. Part 3. The vulnerability of the billionaire. Saturday night arrived. Chloe, wearing a borrowed dress, was waiting nervously. Ethan arrived in an elegant black car, but it was him that captured her attention. Dressed informally, his expression softened when he saw her. "You look beautiful," he said sincerely. They drove to a small, cozy restaurant on the outskirts of Boston. "I used to come here with my parents when I was a kid," Ethan explained. "Before everything. Before the money changed things." He confessed his past, his humble beginnings, working 18-hour days to build his empire. "When the money started pouring in, I lost the one thing that truly mattered, the ability to know who to trust." He spoke of his ex-wife, Victoria, Leo's mother, who left him and their sick 2-year-old son because she couldn't handle the hospital visits and the fear. "I carried that rejection like armor," Ethan admitted. "I kept everyone at a distance, convinced no one could want me for who I really was." "That must be terribly lonely," Chloe said softly. "It was," Ethan agreed, looking her in the eyes. "Until I met a nurse who refused $50,000 because her kindness was priceless. You looked at me like I was simply a scared father, not a billionaire." In that moment, Chloe, I knew there were still real people in the world. People like you. Chloe found herself sharing her own grief, losing her parents, the friends who vanished when her crisis lasted too long. "I spent years building walls to protect myself," she confessed. "And then you show up, and somehow—" "The walls don't work," Ethan finished for her. "I feel the same way." He reached across the table and took her hand. The simple touch sent a jolt through her. They were two broken people, meeting at the precise moment they might finally be ready to heal. When he drove her home, Ethan stopped the car. "Can I see you again?" he asked, vulnerability lacing his voice. "I want to know you better. I want to spend time with you." Chloe knew she should say no, but looking at those gray eyes, she chose hope over fear. "Yes," she whispered. "I would like that." Part 4. The return of the ghost. Their connection deepened quickly. Chloe visited Ethan and Leo every afternoon after her shift. Leo adored her, adopting her as part of his tiny family. 2 weeks after their first dinner, Ethan finally kissed her. It was a slow, tentative promise. "You scare me," Chloe admitted, "but not in a bad way. You make me feel things I swore I would never feel again." But their nascent happiness was about to be tested. While at the hospital, Chloe received a call from an unknown number. "Chloe Adams?" asked a sophisticated female voice. "I'm Victoria Sterling. I was Ethan Reynolds' wife, and I need to speak to you urgently about my son." Chloe's world stopped. "I don't think we have anything to talk about." "Oh, I think we do," Victoria replied. especially since you seem to be playing mother to my son. Meet me tomorrow at the Cafe Milano. And Chloe, it's in your best interest to come, because I know things about Ethan you should know before you proceed with this situation. Part 5. The truth, all of it. The next day, Chloe sat opposite Victoria Sterling. Tall, elegant, everything Chloe felt she was not. "So, you're the nurse," Victoria said with a cold smile. Ethan always had a weakness for charity cases. "What do you want, Ms. Sterling?" "To warn you, Ethan can seem like the perfect, tormented man, but there are things you don't know. About his temper, about how he treats people when he doesn't get his way, about why I really left." Victoria claimed Ethan became obsessed with Leo to the point that nothing else mattered. "I left because I was suffering too, but he told me I was selfish. He forced me out with a generous divorce settlement, threatening to destroy me if I ever sought custody." "That's not true," Chloe protested, but a seed of doubt was planted. "Isn't it?" Victoria challenged. "Ask him. Ask him why I'm really out of Leo's life. Ask him about the other women who tried to enter his life after me. As soon as they became too independent, too opinionated, too real, they disappeared." Victoria stood up. "I'm only warning you, Chloe. You don't deserve what he did to me." That night, Chloe canceled her date with Ethan. She needed the whole truth. The next morning, she confronted him in his office. "I spoke to Victoria. She says you forced her out, that you threatened her, and that you dispose of women when they become too independent. Is it true, Ethan?" Ethan's face hardened. He admitted he gave Victoria an ultimatum and used his resources to ensure she couldn't take Leo. But he revealed the rest of the story. She omitted the most important part. She sank into depression and started leaving Leo, a sick toddler, alone for hours to attend fashion shows and parties. When I found her packing, she told me she was leaving for a new life without complications. When I asked about Leo, she said, "He has his father. I was just the surrogate." Ethan admitted he was not proud of his ruthlessness, but he acted to protect his son. He also admitted there were 2 other women who left when they realized Leo's medical needs would always be the priority. "I'm not looking for someone who pretends to be the perfect mother," Ethan said, kneeling before her. "I'm looking for someone real, with her own scars, who can love my son not because it's easy, but because she understands that some things in life are worth fighting for." "I love Leo," Chloe confessed, tears streaming down her face. "And I'm falling in love with you, Ethan. But I'm terrified of being hurt again." "I am terrified of losing you," Ethan admitted. "But what I feel for you is stronger than the fear." "Then promise me honesty," Chloe demanded. "Total, complete honesty, with no omissions. If we do this, we do it as equal partners." "I promise," Ethan replied without hesitation. Part 6. A new family contract. The next weeks were a legal battle as Victoria formally petitioned for shared custody, claiming she was now stable. Chloe stood by Ethan's side at every preliminary hearing. The emotional climax came when the judge wanted to interview Leo. Ethan was devastated at the thought of his son suffering. "If he wants to meet his mother, we will support him," Chloe reassured him. "But he has to know his voice matters." The verdict was announced the following week. Full custody remained with Ethan. Victoria was granted supervised visits only if Leo requested them, and his health allowed. A decision that the judge said was based on her 4 years of voluntary absence and Leo's delicate health. After the hearing, Victoria approached them one last time. "You're right about me," she admitted to Chloe. "I was selfish. Be the mother I couldn't be." Then she left, finally accepting the consequences. That night, after putting Leo to bed, Chloe and Ethan sat down. "I've fallen completely in love with your son," Chloe told him. "And I've fallen in love with you, Ethan. But I will not be a background figure. I will be an equal partner." "I wouldn't want it any other way," Ethan said, taking her hands. "You showed me that what I truly needed was someone who would challenge me, someone who would make me better. I love your fierce kindness and your silent strength." He looked at her, his eyes shining. "Paula Campos, will you marry me? Will you officially become part of this strange, complicated family?" "Yes," Chloe whispered, tears rolling down her face. "Yes, I will marry you." Part 7. The Heart's Victory. Months later, just 4 months after their wedding, the news arrived. A compatible heart was available for Leo. The surgery was the longest 8 hours of their lives. When Dr. Ramirez emerged smiling, relief washed over them. Leo had a new, strong heart. When Leo woke up, his first word was Daddy. His second was Mom. "You can call me anything you want, my love," Paula said, tears streaming down her face. "As long as you know I love you with all my being." "I know," Leo whispered, trying out the word, Mom. It sounds good. The next few months were filled with the joy of Leo's recovery. The first time he ran without getting breathless. The first time he played soccer. The first time he went to a regular school. They celebrated Leo's 7th birthday and the 6-month anniversary of his transplant by announcing the creation of the Corazón de Esperanza Foundation, Heart of Hope Foundation, a tribute to the donor child, and a mission to fund transplant families. One afternoon, sitting in their garden, Paula reflected on their journey. "I thought love was something you lost when life hit you too hard," she said. "But you proved me wrong. You taught me that love doesn't break. It just waits for the right person, the right moment, for the opportunity to bloom again." Ethan kissed her, the sun setting on the life they had built together. It was a life not of perfection, but of partnership, built on a foundation of donated blood, hard-won love, and the unwavering belief that even in the darkest moment, courage to do the right thing is the only true magic. Final call to action. What an emotional journey. If this story of second chances and unconditional love touched your heart, like this video and subscribe now. Comment below. What precious possession would you entrust to your partner as the ultimate symbol of your love? Your support helps us tell stories that inspire integrity and hope. Part 8. The Growth of the Heart. The first months with baby Elena Esperanza were chaotic, but miraculous. Mateo, Leo, the 7-year-old transplant recipient, took his role as big brother with adorable seriousness. He insisted on helping with every diaper change, carefully demonstrating how to hold the baby's head. The Heart of Hope Foundation became the cornerstone of Paula and Ethan's life. Paula, though she cut back her hospital hours, never abandoned her nursing career. She needed that part of herself that helped others. Ethan, true to his word, prioritized their life together. As the foundation grew, so did their family. One afternoon, 15 years after that initial blood donation, Paula and Ethan sat on their garden bench, the place where so many important conversations had happened. Mateo, now a confident 13-year-old, ran through the garden with an energy that still amazed them. His biggest concern was convincing his parents to let him have a dog. "A penny for your thoughts," Ethan said, handing Paula a cup of tea. "I was just thinking about how far we've come," Paula replied. "I was so broken, convinced happiness wasn't for me. And I was so closed off, certain I could never trust anyone again," Ethan added, sitting beside her. Ethan then shared something he had been planning for months. "I want to create a substantial endowment, a permanent fund for the foundation, in honor of Leo and the donor child. And I want you to be the co-chair, because you understand this on a level I never will." "Yes," Paula said, tears forming in her eyes. "Yes, it's perfect. A way to turn all the pain and fear we lived through into something that helps others." The Alex Torres Memorial Fund was established, named after the donor child, a detail Ethan learned through the hospital's careful, non-identifying process, dedicated to covering medical costs for uninsured families. Do you think establishing the permanent fund ensures the foundation's integrity against corporate influence? Comment your thoughts. Part 9. The shadows of the past years flew by. The foundation expanded nationwide. Paula, now 39, became a respected national speaker on organ donation. Ethan, 49, gracefully stepped back from his most demanding corporate roles. Mateo continued to thrive. Now a sharp, empathetic high schooler, he volunteered at the foundation and spoke at events with an eloquence that moved audiences. He had decided he would become a pediatric heart surgeon to give other kids the chance Dr. Ramirez gave me. Elena, 5, was a joyful storm of energy, a perfect blend of her parents' traits. However, the past cast a final, gentle shadow. During a foundation event, Paula met Irene Torres, the sister of the donor child, Alex. Irene, now a transplant coordinator, was the person who talked to grieving families about donation. "I needed to meet you," Irene told Paula, her eyes mirroring a mix of sorrow and immense pride. "My brother Alex was my best friend, but knowing that a part of him lives on, that he is helping someone like Mateo live, gives me peace. It reminds me that love doesn't die, it just changes form." Mateo and Irene developed an uncommon friendship, two individuals forever linked by a single, incredible gift. Mateo learned that true heroism lay not just in fighting for life, but in the courage to give it. Part 1. The unwavering choice. 15 years after that life-saving donation, Mateo graduated high school with honors, delivering a speech that left no dry eye in the audience. He was accepted into medical school, the first step towards his dream. On the night of his graduation, as the family gathered in the garden, Paula and Ethan sat on their old bench. "Would you do it again?" Ethan asked, the same question he had posed so many times. Go back to that day, knowing all the fear, the struggle, the pain. "Would you donate that blood again?" "Without a doubt," Paula replied, her eyes clear. Donating that blood didn't just save Mateo, it saved me. It gave me a life, a purpose, and love. I thought love was something you lost when life was too hard. But you taught me that love doesn't break. It just waits patiently for us to be ready to let it in again. Ethan kissed her, his lips lingering. "You were right, Paula. It wasn't about the money. It was about grace." They stood up, two people whose love story began with a simple act of charity and ended with an expansive, unbreakable commitment to hope. The greatest testament to their love wasn't the millions in the foundation, but the laughter of their children filling the air, and the simple, unwavering truth that they had chosen love over fear, hope over despair, every single day. Final call to action. What an amazing journey. If the enduring love story of Paula and Ethan inspires you to choose courage, share this video and subscribe to our channel. Comment below. What do you think is the most important part of their legacy? The foundation? Or Mateo's career as a surgeon? Thank you for following their saga. Part 11. The Unbroken Circle. 2 decades after the initial blood donation, Paula and Ethan were enjoying a richly deserved peace. They had gracefully stepped back from the daily operations of the foundation, entrusting its leadership to a younger, ethically driven team. Dr. Mateo Thorne was now a thriving surgical resident, known throughout the Boston General Hospital, not just for his skill, but for his deep empathy, the direct result of the life he had lived. Elena, now a clinical psychologist, worked closely with the foundation, specializing in grief and chronic illness, a compassionate specialist trained to heal the unseen wounds of families like hers. One crisp autumn morning, Paula found herself back at the Boston General Hospital, not as a nurse, but as a guest speaker for a foundation drive. After her talk, She walked down the familiar hallway of the pediatric cardiac unit. She stopped by a nurse's station. A young resident in scrubs was hunched over a chart, his brow furrowed in concentration. It was Matteo. "Dr. Thorne," Paula said softly, placing a hand on his shoulder. Matteo looked up, his face tired, but instantly lighting up. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "I was just giving a talk on empathy and care," Paula replied, smiling. "But I wanted to see my favorite resident." Matteo laughed, pulling her into a hug. "It's relentless, Mom, but I love it. We stabilized a new transplant patient this morning, 7 years old. He's a fighter." "He sounds just like someone else I know," Paula murmured. Matteo pulled back, his eyes serious. "It's different now, Mom. When I look at him, I don't just see a patient. I see myself, and I see Alex, the donor. And I see you, the nurse who was selfless enough to start this whole damn thing." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a worn, silver key. "Dad gave this to me. It's the key to his old office at Reynolds Industries. He said I should only use it when I truly understand the difference between value and worth." "And do you understand it now?" Paula asked, her eyes shining with pride. "Yes," Matteo said, looking around the sterile hallway. "Value is the millions the company earns. Worth is a 7-year-old taking his first breath with a new heart. I'm going to use that key to start a medical innovation fund within the foundation. That's the only inheritance that matters." Part 12. The Eternal Return. Years later, Paula and Ethan, now in their twilight years, stood at the lake house, holding hands. They were watching their 2 children, Matteo, the renowned surgeon, and Elena, the compassionate counselor, discussing the future of the foundation. "You know," Ethan whispered, his voice thick with emotion, "I often come back to that day, the day you collapsed after donating your blood." "It was just one choice, Ethan," Paula replied, leaning her head on his shoulder. "No," he corrected softly, "it wasn't one choice. It was the one choice that stripped away all my illusions. It showed me that true courage wasn't about building an empire. It was about giving away what you desperately needed for a stranger." He turned to her, his eyes clear and loving. "I asked you to marry me because I needed a mother for my son. But I love you because you were the one person who saw past the billionaire and forced the man to confront his own vulnerability." Paula smiled, squeezing his hand. "And I loved you because you were the first person who made me believe that my broken pieces were worth rebuilding. We saved each other, Ethan." They stood there, 2 souls who had fought through grief and corporate cynicism to build a legacy of compassion. The cycle was complete. An act of selfless kindness had returned to save the lives of those who performed it. Final call to action. The incredible journey of Paula and Ethan has shown us that the most valuable legacy is not what we leave behind, but the compassion we leave in the hearts of others. If this final chapter resonates with you, please comment below with the word GRACE to honor their journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for being the most supportive audience for this beautiful saga. Epilogue 2, A Chance Encounter. Many years after Dr. Matteo Thorne took over the leadership of the Foundation's Medical Innovation Fund, Paula and Ethan found themselves in Miami, attending a small, private medical conference related to advanced cardiac research, a final commitment to their foundation before fully retiring. One afternoon, Paula was browsing a quiet, high-end art gallery near the waterfront, while Ethan attended a final board meeting. She paused before a striking modern abstract painting, a piece filled with turbulent colors, yet possessing a strange, hard-won peace. "It captures the chaos before the calm, doesn't it?" Paula turned. Standing beside her was an elegant, silver-haired woman. She was well-dressed, clearly successful, and though older, her features were sharp and familiar. It was Victoria Sterling, Ethan's first wife, and Matteo's biological mother. The air didn't charge with tension. It settled with an unexpected calmness, a testament to the decades that had passed and the healing that had occurred. "Victoria," Paula said, meeting her eyes without flinching. "Paula," Victoria responded, offering a small, genuine smile. "I should have known you would gravitate toward a painting about resolution. It's what you build. And you found a life in art, I see," Paula noted, looking at a nearby plaque indicating that Victoria Sterling was the gallery's owner. "I have," Victoria confirmed. "It's about finding a way to express the turbulence without being destroyed by it. I heard Matteo is brilliant. A surgeon. You must be very proud." "We are immensely proud," Paula confirmed. "He is fulfilling his purpose." "He calls you Mom," Victoria stated, not as a question, but as a final, quiet acknowledgement. "Yes, he always has," Paula replied gently. Victoria nodded slowly. "He should. You earned it. I saw him speak at a conference last year. He has your heart, Paula, and his father's strength. And he has his own unique perspective," Paula added, "one that only a life like his could forge." Victoria looked back at the turbulent, abstract painting. "I sold the rights to my story, you know, not for money. I donated the advance to a mental health clinic. I wanted the world to hear my truth, the truth that I was the villain, but I was also the one who was too broken to fight for love." "It took great courage to admit that," Paula said softly. "Courage is what you brought into his life, Paula. Not money, not perfection. Just fierce, quiet courage." Victoria stepped closer, lowering her voice. "I have no regrets about giving up the custody fight. I made the best choice for Matteo, and seeing the man he has become, it is my only true redemption." She reached out and briefly touched Paula's arm. "Take care of him, Paula, and tell Ethan. I hope he finally forgave himself." Victoria walked away, disappearing into the back offices of her gallery. Paula stood alone, the abstract painting now perfectly reflecting her soul. The turbulence of the past finally framed by the clear, calm lines of peace. She didn't feel triumph, only a deep sense of completion. The final shadow had lifted, replaced by mutual respect. She and Ethan were not just a love story. They were a testament to the power of human capacity for change and the quiet grace of forgiveness. Final call to action. This encounter truly closes the circle on the emotional journey. If you are moved by this final act of compassion and closure, please leave a comment below with the word closure to honor their story. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for sharing this incredible saga with me. Years after the final, quiet encounter with Victoria, Paula and Ethan settled into their roles as loving grandparents. Their marriage, now spanning decades, was characterized by a deep, effortless rhythm, the comfortable silence of two people who knew each other's souls completely. One warm summer evening, Paula and Ethan were watching their teenage granddaughter, Eliza, Elena's daughter, named in tribute to the lost twin, flip through an old family album in the garden. Eliza stopped at a picture of a young, exhausted nurse lying on a gurney with a blood bag visible nearby. "Grandma," Eliza asked, her voice full of teenage curiosity, "tell me again about the blood. Why did you donate for a total stranger?" Paula, now with gentle silver hair, looked at the photo, a snapshot of her life's true beginning. "It wasn't for a total stranger, sweetheart," Paula explained softly. "It was for a small, sick boy who was waiting for a miracle. And it was for a scared, lonely young woman who had forgotten what kindness felt like." Ethan, seated beside her, put his hand over Paula's. "Your grandmother," Ethan said to Eliza, his voice thick with emotion, "had a choice that day. She could have walked away, gone home, and stayed safe. But she chose to give a part of herself to someone else. That choice, to give what you have, even when you think you have nothing left, is the golden thread that weaves our whole family together." "It taught me a simple truth, Eliza," Paula added, taking her husband's hand. "That the greatest wealth isn't the fortune your grandfather built, but the capacity to offer genuine compassion when the world expects you to be selfish." Eliza looked at the photo, Then at her grandparents' intertwined hands, their two lives, once so disparate, now perfectly fused. So, the greatest risk you ever took, Eliza concluded wisely, wasn't the surgery, Grandpa. It was letting Grandma love you. Ethan and Paula exchanged a look that held decades of shared joy and pain. It was the one risk, Ethan affirmed, his voice husky, that paid off with an eternal return, sweetheart. The sunset painted the garden in hues of gold and rose, casting the two elders in a light of enduring peace. The saga of the CEO and the nurse was complete, a quiet, powerful testament to the transformative power of love, courage, and a single, selfless choice. Final call to action. This is the absolute final reflection on the profound journey of the Sterling Thorne family. If their legacy of courage and compassion inspires you, please leave a comment below with the word golden to honor their enduring bond. Thank you for following this incredible saga.